The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Local Update. I'm Debra Hutchison in the Rogers TV studio. This week, our first guest on the show, is no stranger to Rogers TV and to our viewers. He is Mr. Rob MacArthur, a former host of Helping Durham Region. Rob is now, jumped headfirst into a new endeavor called Locals Helping Locals, and he joins us now via Zoom to tell us all about it. Rob, so good to see you.
Good to see you too. I hope everything is well in Rogers land.
We are well and very grateful that you can join us. As the host of Helping Durham Region, your focus was on organizations and people that were making a difference here, that were, really lending a hand when a hand was needed. And that work of yours continues with Locals Helping Locals. Tell us what it's all about.
Well, yeah, it does actually. Locals helping locals. So we all know over the years there's been, sort of branding of buy local, support local, things like that, which is important. Always has been and is really important now. But everybody else is sort of suffering, whether they don't have their full-time jobs or limited income. So the idea of this was to promote businesses that are offering special deals to local residents. And honestly, the idea came to me from seeing something way back when in Las Vegas. When in Las Vegas, which is a tourist area, and of course it's tourist pricing, but for anybody that lived in Las Vegas, there was a discount to purchase things, to go to a restaurant, to ride transit, everything. And I was really impressed by this. So way my mind works, COVID, buy local, things like that. I thought, well, that would be a great idea because I know a lot of the businesses in the Durham region, and especially Ajax, since I used to own one there. And I thought it might help because everybody now is buying online or going to big box stores, and it's really hard for locals, independent businesses to compete. So I thought if they could come up with some sort of deal or special for their product and services, and we can make that available to the local residents might say, oh, I think I'll go local. And that's the hope of this project.
So what has the response been?
The response has been excellent. I've been at it for about a week. I designed the website, got it up, and I had a client, I'll call them, right away wanted him, just because they're very community minded, but they wanted the community to know what they're doing. So, and I've been spreading it around social media. I've been doing some Google advertising, some Facebook advertising. I mean, I've called it .ca, so I guess I could do all of Canada, but right now I'm sort of concentrating on Durham because that's, where I was for 22 years.
Right.
And I'm still there for Rotary and the Legion and things like that. And it's one of those things people are going, okay, sounds like a good idea. The site in less than a week has had over 300 visits.
That's incredible.
Actually, I'm surprised, honestly. And so what I'm concentrating on now is content. And I've changed some of the things, like, for instance, if there's a business in any municipality that's offering a free service or something, I won't charge them to put them on, just to spread the word. They might, free mass, something like that, anything like that. The other thing is I do charge, right now it's $25 a month or $250 for the year, but the reason I charge is I then take that money and spend it on Google and Facebook advertising to let people know. For instance, if I have a client in Ajax who's paid, I specifically advertise in Ajax to get people to know that the site is there and that, there's somebody there that can help them, and people will know. And that's, basically the model that I'm working with. And I've got half a dozen people I'm just waiting for the information on. We ask for their logo, their name, their address, their phone number with links to Google Maps. And it's also a mobile apps for mobile site, so they could press their phone number and call them right away. And then I also ask them something a little different, is their connection to the municipality. How long have they been in business? Were they born and raised there? So the people looking can get to know the business and the owner just a little bit, which further may entice them to go support them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real connection that we have with our local businesses. You know, the point has been made that it's the local businesses are the ones that are there for us when sports teams reach out for support and sponsorship, or, you know, local community groups need sponsorship and support. And they've always been there for the community. You know, during a very difficult time, it's time for the community to be there for them as well, or we might lose them.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, I mean, I just heard today the corral in Oshawa is closed down.
Yeah.
For good.
Yeah,
and
a piece of history, huh?
And it's been there for almost 40 years. So, and the other thing is, and that certainly has been always the buy local thing, but at this time, besides the businesses need us, residents need a break too.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't working, or not as many hours, or not the job that they should be working. So if you could offer them something, especially in tourist areas, because when your tourist pricing is normally, I'm from Kingston originally, and I know tourist pricing. It was a big tourist area, and pricing is usually a little bit more for clothes or for a cup of coffee or something. So if you say to residents, well, if you come and all you have to do is you could just show your driver's license, it has your address on it, you get a discount. That could be sales tax, that could be 5%, 20%, 2 for 1. Doesn't matter. I don't really care what the deal is. I just want the business to make a bit of an effort, and then hopefully we can entice the residents to make a bit of an effort, which could carry the residents on or carry the businesses on while helping out the residents.
You know, if there's one thing that a positive side or you know, a bit of sun in the clouds, in the COVID clouds, it's that it's really shown how much we care about each other and the support that is there within the community.
Well, it's there, and it's just everybody's, you know, it's tough. You know, I mean, you look at the numbers and they say we're in the second wave now, and really until there's a vaccine, you know, we're going to be in this. So it's going to get tougher. So we really do have to bog down. And quite frankly, you know, Amazon doesn't need the business, but that business down the street does. And in the big box stores, they'll be fine. But the problem is money's so tight that they've got to go where they can save that money. So if businesses can come even close to it, then I think they have a better chance of getting the residents to come over, or at least make the effort. And then the residents are saying, wow, they're really trying to help us. We really do need to help them, because you're right. They were there to sponsor that team or give that donation to the charity, but sometimes people's memory is a little short. So we have to remind them again.
Yeah, as you say, this is creating a win-win situation for both sides.
Right. I mean, I call it local business. Sort of the byline is local businesses, you know, helping local residents, and then local residents helping local businesses. And that's the logo that I have. Is just, you know, these arrows going around. It's just a circle, and it keeps going.
And it is, you know, from the businesses that you've spoken with, you know, it was hard enough for them to get through the first wave. Are there a lot of them out there that don't think they're going to make it through a second wave?
I think I've talked to a lot. The hospitality businesses, the restaurants, the pubs, the pool halls, the you know, the places like that, the independents, they're worried. I mean, I believe there was some restaurant association saying they expect 85% of hospitality places to shut down if this continues.
Breaks my heart.
And I mean, you can go back to delivery, but it's not the same as when you're fully open. And quite frankly, even maximizing the people in the business to 50, that may not cover their expenses to keep the place open.
Yeah, I mean, they're still stuck paying their rent, right? Whether there's people allowed inside or not.
Rent, insurance, heat, hydro, it's all still there.
Yeah, true. So if people want to get a look at your fabulous website and a list of the businesses that are jumping on board, where do they go?
Well, all they have to go is www.helpinglocals.ca. That's it.
And just and check it out. Now I have to ask you, Rob, I want to know how you're doing. Here you are helping others, and you yourself have been through quite a personal journey, and especially throughout COVID, you know, you are battling cancer.
Well, the battle's over. I won.
All right.
So I was declared. I even got a tattoo that says it. But I was declared cancer-free May of last year. So I had stage 3 colon cancer, and there was a chance I might not make it through. But we and community helped. I mean, community got together, people I've known, and had a fundraiser for us, which really helped because I couldn't work. So, I mean, talk about your community support. I mean, just everybody was there. And now I'm just in recovery mode. I'm a little lighter than I was, not as strong, and my wind isn't as good, but I'm getting there.
You still look great to us, Rob.
Pardon me?
You still look great to us.
Well, I've lost weight. I mean, I'm not a way I'd recommend to lose it, but I like the weight I have right now. So
see, you're always looking on the bright side of life, aren't you, Rob MacArthur?
Yes, and always learning. I just finished getting certified as a life coach. I did it for me, you know, to look at the bright side and get the goals and meet your objectives. So I did it for me, and then, but as things go, now I've got other people that want me to help them through it. So yeah, I'm always learning, always taking courses, can't stop. My one son says I should take a course on how to stop taking courses. But I don't know of one like that. So.
I love that. We've only got another couple of minutes left. Okay. But I also wanted to quickly touch upon, you're also helping musicians and musical acts through virtualstage.ca. What's that all about?
The virtualstage.ca. So we're musicians as well, but doing what we do for Ribfest and things like that. Though a lot of buskers, musicians, singers, songwriters, and right now with hospitality being dead, their venues where they make money is dead. So I've set up a website where they can upload videos and people can watch and send them money and tips and go to their website. They can even I could even set it up that they can charge an admission for people to access the stage. Eventually I'll go streaming, but right now I want to make it like a 24/7 so people can watch it at any time. And actually my first act on there is an Ajax couple, a husband and wife that did a CD, and they've got their CD on there. And there's more coming. And just another way to try to help out. And it's getting a lot of hits as well. And I know there's buskers sending stuff because right now they have nothing. There's no Ribfest. There's these drive-in shows and there's a lot of other streaming, but I'm hoping to get, you know, if a lot of people come to the site to watch different acts, they'll go see the other acts, which increases the exposure. And, you know, they can go buy their CDs or their videos. And hopefully, like I said, it's got a little tip button. They can send them a little tip like they're a busker. So it's been up and running for about 3 months now. And I've just started to get some acts to send me videos. Takes a while for people to get moving, but I understand considering.
Well, I'm glad we're here to help you get the word out. You too are a musician, as I understand it.
Yes, my wife and I, we have a band called the Too Drunk to Fish Band, and we also play as a duet called The Max. Yeah, I know, it's a great name.
Is one of your acts uploaded onto virtualstage.ca?
Surprisingly enough, not yet. We actually did a video for Pickering when they did their own virtual Ribfest. We did a performance video for them. Yeah. But we haven't done one yet for the virtual stage. Just okay. The way it is.
Well, then post it for me, will you?
I definitely will. I certainly will.
Okay. Rob MacArthur, localhelpinglocals.ca. Thanks so much for joining us, Rob. Take care. Stay with us. More to come on Local Update after the break.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
I'm Debra Hutchison, host of Local Update. The COVID pandemic plunged the world into a sea of uncertainty and upheaval. Closer to home, how are we coping? Join me each week as we speak with organizations and members of the community about how they're faring and how they're making a difference. Get the latest local updates and hear stories of resiliency and caring. After all, we're in this together. That's Local Update each week right here on Rogers TV. Welcome back to Local Update. Myeloma is the second most common form of blood cancer. Every day, 9 new Canadians are diagnosed with it, but it remains largely unknown. One local woman who joins us today is trying to change all that. Jennifer Hilliard joins us, as well as Dr. Anthony Nassan, who is Division Head of Hematology at the Durham Region Cancer Center. Welcome to you both, and thanks for taking the time to join us here.
Thank you.
Doc, let's start with you. What is myeloma?
So multiple myeloma is a form of blood cancer. So it's blood cancer that tends to originate in the bone marrow and affects the white blood cells, the plasma cells in particular. And it's a disease that is basically, it's an unusual disease in that it is a disease of the plasma cells. It takes over these plasma cells that are antibody producing cells. They're supposed to be good cells that protect us, that work to secrete antibodies to protect us from infection, but they're taken over and they go bad. And because of this change now, these antibodies are cause problems in the body. What they do is they can interfere with your kidney function. Myeloma can affect the bones. So these antibodies are defective and stimulate bone breakdown cells, causing these holes in the bones that we often see. And like I mentioned, can affect the kidneys, causing kidney failure and sending people to dialysis. So it's an unusual type of blood cancer, but unfortunately a common one. And like you mentioned, it is the second most common blood cancer, affecting 3,000 Canadians a year. So it's not an insignificant burden on us.
So Jennifer, when were you were diagnosed December 2018. You are so young. Did you have any clue that this was going on with you physically? How did you feel?
None whatsoever. And the crazy part, I was 34 when I was diagnosed. And what I was told after diagnosis is that it's a common disease, or more common in older gentlemen. Usually I believe the diagnosis is around the 60s or 70s in older men. And so for myself, at 34-year-old female, very, not what you would expect to get. And I actually didn't have any symptoms. The only reason we figured it out is because I was getting blood tests done for a physical, and my hemoglobin was low. And after a couple months, every consecutive test kept showing that my hemoglobin kept decreasing to a point where in November, it was at 63, which is very dangerous. And the doctor that I was seeing said, go to the hospital, you need a transfusion right now. And at the time I was also going to a hematologist, and they were doing tests as well. And funny enough, the next morning after my first transfusion, he called me he was actually at a myeloma conference in, I believe, San Diego or San Francisco. And he said, you know what, there's something going on here. We're sending you to an oncologist. And the very next week I was diagnosed with it. And I had no symptoms. I had no idea what was going on. All it was, I was told I was anemic. But because the hemoglobin kept reducing so quickly over a span of like 5 months, it went from like 90 to 64 or something like that. And so we kept checking on it because something was definitely wrong. That's not a normal occurrence. But I didn't have any physical symptoms. They asked me if I had any kind of fatigue or dizziness. I felt none of it. I had no idea that this was happening. And then once I was diagnosed, I was absolutely shocked because I felt fine. I had no idea. So.
Dr. Nassan, this is incurable at this point.
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah, it is an incurable disease, but it is, what I say to the patient is, it is manageable. So a patient's journey often begins with a diagnosis, as Jennifer mentioned, and patients start off on a cocktail of chemotherapy drugs in an attempt to control the disease. And we term that in oncology an induction regimen. So we try to induce a remission. So we try to control the disease and to ensure or to try to reinforce that most patients under 70 years old in general that are in good health will undergo a stem cell transplant. And after the stem cell transplant, it's basically a stem cell transplant is where patients' own stem cells are actually collected, and patients are given high doses of chemotherapy, so high that their own stem cells would not survive. And a day later, those stem cells are reinfused and grow back in the bone marrow. Once all that is said and done, what happens is that most patients are started on a maintenance regimen of some medications to try to prevent recurrences. And with all of this, we've increased the duration of time that patients can remain symptom-free. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, it is incurable, so many patients will unfortunately recur and require second lines of treatment, which again, this is improved over time, and the idea is that we want to extend these intervals of being free of disease. And then unfortunately, after the second line of treatment, there's typically another relapse that can occur, and then we move forward in that manner. So it's a relapsing type of remitting nature of disease rather than one that is curable, as you mentioned.
So Jennifer, of course, you went through all of this. You went through the chemo, you went through the stem cell transplant, and you say at one point you were taking 50 pills a day?
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of different medications that are provided while you're in treatment. Not only, well, you have the chemo itself, which for myself was in two different forms. It was in injections in the stomach and it was pills that I had to take. But there's also antibiotics, there's antivirals, anti-nausea. So yeah, it can be quite a lot to take. Not all at once. Some of it, they dose it out. You take some in the morning, some in the evening. But if you're not good with pills, it's not a fun time, definitely.
So even at the best of time with your immune system compromised, it obviously is a difficult thing to go through. But during COVID, and I would think even now that you've been through the treatments, much more than anybody could have asked for, correct?
Yeah, definitely during this current time, it's made things more difficult. I was getting ready to sort of take back my life in January, but I was having some side effects from the maintenance medication, and so it did get pushed back a bit, and then everything closed down, and so I'm still waiting. But I'm used to it now. It's just something everybody has to get used to once you go through something like this, whether it's myeloma or anything else. You're always at a higher risk, so you do still have to be careful. But that's kind of the new normal for me, and I try to make the best of it. And of course, not much else you can do, right?
You were one of many people that recently took part in the Multiple Myeloma March in Oshawa. The event, thanks to COVID, had to go virtual, but you raised a lot of money.
Yes, I believe Oshawa now, our goal was 15,000. I believe we've just surpassed 10,000, which is amazing for this time of everybody's uncertain with their finances and stuff like that. So it was really nice to see that we still have a lot of community support and family and friends support. We had two official teams participating, and we've done really well. We although we couldn't meet up like last year, we were able to meet up at one of the Oshawa parks to do the walk in person, and we raised a good amount last year as well. And so it was kind of bittersweet to not be able to see everybody again in person for my second year, but we did have a bit of a Zoom call. Some people were Zooming on their phones while they were walking, others were in their homes, and then we all sort of dispersed and did the walk as well. But our team, myself and my mother, we've been doing it virtually. So we set ourselves a goal, and since August, we've been every day walking a few kilometers as we can, adding up to our goal. My goal this year was 100 kilometers, and I did over 150, so I'm very proud of myself for that. I believe my mom's goal was 200, and I think she went over 300. So we've been really, really ramping it up, really, really getting that energy out there, and getting people to help us out with that.
And of course, even though the walk is over, donations always accepted, correct?
That's right, yeah.
www.myeloma.ca, an excellent website to go to for information. Dr. Nassan, for those that are really don't know what multiple myeloma is all about, what would be the main points you would have to tell them?
In terms of it's a very difficult disease. So once it takes hold, Patients, unfortunately, not only from the treatment perspective, but once patients are in remission, there's always that concern for patients that it will come back. So I see many patients with multiple myeloma who are in remission, but every time they come in, they're very worried, of course, that it's come back or it's about to come back. And that's quite difficult to live with, I imagine, for the patients. So it's this lack of cure, this lack of certainty, I think, is one of the worst aspects of the disease. Not only the physical impacts, but the psychological impacts are quite important, and something that we need to recognize.
Yeah, and of course the treatment for multiple myeloma, the stem cell transplant, how big a waiting list is there? So I'm just curious, once you know you need something like this, how difficult is it to get, especially during COVID?
So that's actually a very, very interesting and a very good question. So the auto transplants, so stem cells that are taken from yourself and given back to yourself, those aren't performed here in the Durham region, but performed out in Kingston and Kingston General Hospital and Princess Margaret Hospital. And we access them relatively rapidly. The issue that we've come across in the past is that patients do need to spend time at those institutions, usually for about 2 to 3 weeks, to ensure that their stem cells have taken and their bone marrow function has returned. In the Durham region here at the Cancer Center, what we've developed about 2 years ago is a day one transfer back program where we send patients for the stem cell transplant to Kingston. They have the procedure and they're actually brought back here to their community, to Lakeridge Health, to the hospital here, where we look after them for 2 to 3 weeks during that hospitalization period. So, this is something that we've developed over the last 2 years, and we've ramped up. And it's brought patients back into their community so they can be next to loved ones, and loved ones don't have to travel out to the Kingston or Toronto area for that matter.
Okay, we only have about a minute left, so I'm gonna turn it back over to Jennifer. Jennifer, you've been through so much. What helped you get through this, and what continues to help you get through this?
Definitely friends and family, and having a positive outlook. It's not always easy. Some people, probably feel like, why me? Why has this happened to me? And I'm like, you know what? It can happen to anybody. This isn't something that I did to myself. This isn't a lifestyle thing. This isn't environmental. Like, they don't really know what the cause is. And so I just kind of go, okay, well, this is what's happened. I've done the treatment. I'm doing everything that I need to do. And I'm going to stay positive through it, because, having depression or being upset through it is not going to help your system anyway. So if you're able to continue to be positive, smile every day, laugh every day if you can, even through my worst times, during my recovery in the hospital. I've had some pretty horrible days. I still found a way to smile and laugh every day, because you can't let it take that part away from you. You can't let it take your personality, because that's how it wins. You don't want to let it win. You want to come out of this still being yourself and still having a smile on your face.
Oh, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story, and to Dr. Anthony Nassan, and to you for joining us as well. Until next time, I'm Debra Hutchison. Stay safe, everyone.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.